Warrior Women, Karen McCoy here, and this podcast is about calorie deficits. Okay, a new trend on the horizon is everything now is about, are you in a calorie deficit? I've been in a calorie deficit for 3 years. I've been in a calorie deficit for 12 months. I'm not losing any weight. Okay, so what does calorie deficit means? It means eating less than what your maintenance is. What is maintenance? It is how much you eat when you're just maintaining your weight. So if you want to do the math, you can look at it and add up your calories on an average day, and that is your maintenance. And when I say deficit, I usually cut women to start 10 to 20% below what their maintenance is. So if your maintenance is, say, 1,500 calories, then we're going to cut you by 150 to 300 calories. Did I do that math right? Yeah. Uh, a day and hold it there for a couple of weeks. You want to hold it for a couple of weeks. And this is the problem that some women have, is that they hold it for a few days and then they're like crazy or something happens and then they can go out for chicken wings and beer and they blow the whole thing. Whatever you do, you need to be consistent. And research has shown it takes anywhere from 10 to 14 days for your palate to change, for the metabolism to get into a groove, and for all the little leptin and ghrelin, the little hormones that are causing you to want to eat, or you're feeling satiated, and all the other hormones, and your biochemistry levels out. So give yourself 2 weeks. The challenge is women aren't, we're in an impatient society. That's probably what I would say is the biggest challenge that we have, is that everybody's impatient now. And we want something now, or we think we should have it in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 12 weeks. And when I ask women, why do you think that? Well, because I think I should. There's no real research behind it. But if you can stay consistent in your deficit, 10 to 20% below your maintenance, so you're going to have to do the math and be brutally honest with yourself and get a good calculator to see what your maintenance is. Manage that for 2 weeks and see, do I need to dig in more? Oh, do I have to stop the cheats that I have? Do I have to stop the alcohol? See what all the variables are, guys. This is really about getting real with yourself. And it's not popular for me to say, and I've been tarred and feathered a lot for it, but honestly, most people are not brutally honest with themselves and not catching things. And it really is a little bit of sauce you add in, that extra glass of wine, which can be 250 calories, which can add up to 2 pounds a month. So all of these little things matter. It's usually in between the lines. So I always say it's usually the little stuff sprinkled in, not the big stuff. So look at what you can take away instead of what you have to add in. But the other deal about the calorie deficit is, if you have truly been in a calorie deficit for a long time, and I would say anywhere from, my experience is things will change if you're in a deficit. I noticed in competition, it took about 2 weeks before I noticed something in my body. So if you're in it for like 2 or 3 weeks and nothing's happening, then you can dig a little bit deeper and just manage things slightly. So don't go crazy with the cardio. Don't go crazy with all changing all these things, because then you won't know what's really working. So change one variable at a time, meaning your food. Don't change anything else, because you're trying to manage your food here. And if you've been in a deficit for longer than 3 or 4 weeks and nothing's happening, and you stay in a deficit, then what you are doing is you are bringing the energy down in the body, because the body goes, oh, I don't have enough food to operate here. So I'm going to slow processes in the body in order to compensate. This is where you might feel more tired. You might not have the energy in the gym. You might be more short fused. You might start to have more cravings. These are usually because you're just too long in a deficit or too deep in a deficit, where you're going from 3,000 calories to like 1,500. That can lead to trouble. So the calorie deficit is important, but I think most people don't know if they're in it or not. They just assume because they've changed their food and they might be a little bit hungry, they're in a deficit. Not necessarily. So this is where you kind of got to do the math. And it is a skill set that you need to learn. It's like having money in the bank. You got to know what you have in the bank before you spend it, right? You can't just go out and buy whatever you want, because you got to pay your rent or your mortgage. And it is the same with food. Get really comfortable with understanding, looking at that apple, that's 80 calories, right? Looking at a piece of bread is I know my wraps. I use wraps instead of bread. I'm not anti-bread. I have bread, but not very often because it just fills me up too much. I like wraps, and they're about 80 calories per wrap. And I put all my stuff in it. And so it's intuitive now. And I teach my women to get to that place of being intuitive, but you got to do the work first. It's kind of like you got to learn to spell in order to create a sentence. And then you can flow into being a creative writer once you learn all that. So that is the intuition of writing. It's also the intuition of food. So the calorie deficit is really about understanding metabolism will compensate. And this is also why I throw in cheats and refeeds. Again, I've got this in my YouTube. What's the difference between cheats and refeeds? They are different. Some people use the terminology and interchangeably. That's fine too. It really depends on the process, on how you're applying it, the strategy, right? But if I have a client who has been pretty compliant, and I know if they're compliant because I work with them longer term. So I get to know their habits. I get to know when they're like not being honest. I get to call them out, and we come to build this relationship where we are built on trust and honesty. And I can really see where they're working, right? And I can say, okay, you've been doing this for like 2 months straight. So you've done really well. Let's give your body a break because you're burning out here. So go out and have a great big meal with your hubby on Friday night and enjoy. And this is the interesting part. Usually when I do that, they don't go whole hog. They usually go, okay, great. And then they get there and like, I don't need to do that child behavior anymore because it doesn't feel good, but I am going to enjoy a burger with all the fixings and chocolate cake. Perfect. That's where you want to be in all of this. So it is important that you understand that if you have been in a deficit, a true deficit, and you're not losing weight, you can use a cheat or a refeed. So a refeed is for women who are strength training. It's not for it really is about removing the glycogen from the muscles, and you get to see it and feel it in the gym. You learn how to do that because us competitors learned how to do it, and we flatten when we're training. It's like, okay, I need to boost my food so I can boost my metabolism, so I can use all that food coming in instead of going into fat. It's going into manage my metabolism that's just starting to soften, and then you wake it up. That's the beauty of a refeed. And it works really, really well, but it needs to be learned and applied appropriately. And then once clients learn that, they can manage it themselves. A cheat is softer. A cheat is just where it's like, just go out and have something and enjoy it. I never usually give a day for a cheat. It's too much, guys. And some women can go overboard and then they just go into guilt and shame. Again, all the things we're trying to remove ourselves from. And we want to have a healthy relationship with food and with our body. So we don't want to do that. But some women can do a cheat where it's like, yeah, it's Thursday. I'm going to go out for a beer and wings, and then shut the door. And then they're good the next day. It's a mindset, guys. It is something that you build as well along the way. This runs this, right? So, but really get clear about your calorie deficit. Are you truly in a deficit? Don't just think. Don't just suppose. Do the work. Add everything up. Add up 7 days of eating in a week and really see where you're at. The other really important thing, guys, is your daily movement. If you have a sedentary job, it doesn't matter if you walk 10,000 steps and you train for 40 minutes in the gym. It's often not enough. We sit for our jobs. We sit while we're driving the car. We sit watching Netflix, and then we go to bed and lay down. So most of us have a very sedentary lifestyle. I always say lifestyle is the most important factor. Beyond hormones, metabolism, food, training, it is still lifestyle. And that is not even brought into a lot of programming or coaching. And it needs to be. It really, really needs to be. So the deficit is if you're doing everything and it's just, and you are honestly at like calories that are causing you to be tired and weak for a very long time, and you're crabby and you have cravings going out the roof, then you need to have a few days of eating. Might even just be one day. You're going to have to play with this. A few days of eating where you're going to bring all of your leptin levels up. Your ghrelin is going to be managed. These are the satiety and hunger hormones. And your body is going to go, oh, it's good. She's feeding me. It's good. I don't have to hang on to the fat. I can let it go. Okay. A lot of people say dieting or calorie deficit creates cortisol spike, which can have you hanging on to fat. The cortisol thing, I don't want to get into it right now. Okay, some people say I don't want to train with weights because it increases cortisol and I'm going to gain fat or hold on to fat. Are you crazy? Like, where is this coming from? I don't know. Anybody who has suffered through hunger, guys, real hunger, people on the street, people in other countries, people in people who are subject to other things. Let's just say that when they're not being fed, they are not holding on to fat. Okay, they're just not. So we really need to get that out of our heads because it's insulting and it's incorrect. So mild calorie deficit. And what I would say, this is what I do. I slightly undereat and maintenance, undereat and maintenance. And I know in my body how that feels. I don't have to do the calorie counts anymore. I never really did calorie counts. I learned all of this through 7 competitions and listening to my body because I was all about, this is fascinating. I want to learn how the body and metabolism and biochemistry works here. So I didn't have to be a doctor or a scientist or any of those specialties because I was focused in everything here and recognizing how the body talks to you is super, super important. And I'm all about focusing in. That's why I do a lot of meditation work with my clients as well, because it is coming to know this vessel of ours, and we're all individual in our own way. But once we do, we're in sync, we're in flow, and managing our body, our metabolism, our strength, our purpose, our healthy aging becomes a place of flow and ease, not in resistance, not in push, 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 right? Get real with your calorie deficit. And there are formulas out there. A lot of them say if your goal weight, if you want to be at a goal weight, then times your goal weight by 10 to 12. And then, so that would mean if you want to be, say, 120 pounds, you would eat between 1,200 and 1,440 calories. Yeah, it's pretty close, but I mean, again, it changes because of genetics and age and things like that, but it's pretty close. And then if you want to know where you are, how much you're eating, take your body weight, whatever your body weight is. If it's 3,000, divide it by 14, and you'll see math on that. Maybe get my trusty calculator here. So if we're at 3,000, no. If we're at 300 pounds divided by 14 means you're eating 2,200 calories a day. 14 to 1,500, so 22 to 2,500 calories a day. So you take your weight, your current weight, and divide it by 14 or 15, and that's where you're kind of sitting with your calories. So it helps you to get real with truly what you're eating. Now, it might not be in a day. You might have been like, 1,500 yesterday and maybe 3,000 today. So again, you got to average it out. So this is averaging out. And then for you, if you want to figure out, I want to be 150 pounds, then it is 150 times 10, which is 1,500, or 150 times 12, which is a little bit more generous, 1,800 calories. So 10 to 12, times it by 10 to 12. And that is how many. But if you're going, this is the calorie deficit rule. If you're going from eating 2,500 or 3,000 calories a day, and you're going down to 1,500 or 1,800 calories, it might be too much of a jump. If it's too much of a jump, if it's beyond 10 or 20% of where you're at in eating your daily calories, it's going to be too much of a jump and it will trigger a plateau. What that means is, it's not the end of the world. What it means is you are cutting too fast too soon, and you will lose water, you will lose a little bit of muscle, and you'll step on the scale and go, woohoo! But all of a sudden your body will get wise and go, I'm putting on the brakes, man, because you're starving me and I don't want this to continue. You can't continue to lose 5 pounds a day for 2 months, because it just doesn't happen. Your body has a protection factor built in. So that is where you might want to stop and add in food for a few days and then continue again. But I would say 10 to 20% cut from where you are in your food plan and stay with it. And if you're doing good, great. If it plateaus, maybe a little bit more. People say don't eat below 1,500 or 1,200 calories. It's not true. We really don't want to live there, but you can, and I did for shows. And also, if I'm sitting all day and I haven't trained, I haven't walked my dogs, and I haven't really been moving around a lot, I can't eat anything more than 1,500 calories a day because it does add up. It does add up because of the sedentary aspect of what I may be living in. So I hope that helps somewhat, guys. So please be leery of the calorie deficit. Really, sometimes you don't have to do anything. You just have to increase or alter your lifestyle pattern. I have a neighbor who every day she walks for, because she can, she's retired, she walks for over 2 hours every day. And in 2 years, she lost about 70 pounds. Now, you could say, oh, that's a long time, but it works for her. She didn't have to, she cleaned up her food, but she didn't really have to change her food. She didn't have to change her life. She just walked every day for over 2 hours. And I watched this woman go from here to here because she had health issues that were a reflection of her weight, and she had achy knees and whatnot. Not everybody wants to lose weight, guys, but some women want to and need to for health reasons. And or for aesthetic reasons. It's okay to want to be leaner, guys, if that's your choice. And she did it slow and steady, and she has sustained it. And it was just simple and basic and real. Okay, hope that helps, guys. All right, have a good day.